Hey, good morning, everybody. We hit our 100 subscriber mark. So, as promised, we're going to do this little book tour. We'll walk through it. I'll talk a little bit about, uh, the various books and whatnot. Try to at least say a little something on each one. Um, Man, we hit 100 subscribers actually faster than I thought we would. But I got to apologize. This isn't the whole collection, as I promised, and I apologize. But some of my bookshelves are currently under construction, or actually are just like buried right now behind a bunch of other stuff that I'm kind of ongoing. I got this ongoing thing where I'm trying to refine all my stuff and go through all my stuff and get rid of the stuff I don't need anyway. But all right, without further ado, let's get going here and we'll walk through this esoteric collection of books that I've accumulated over the years. Let's do it. All right, first bookshelf here. Actually, let's look to the top of this bookshelf first. Actually, see that nice little painting? My daughter did that for me. We've got the lion, right? This is a symbol. It means something. You got the lion there. You also got the skull. And if you study astrology, like real astrology, not like the woo-woo stuff that's been going around for a long, long time, but if you study astrology from the philosophical perspective of the mystery schools, from where this stuff came from, then you will know that there is a major significance between these two signs and what is taking place in the cosmos right now. Got that stone in the center there that says balance. But think on that. Look at an astrological wheel and think on that, and then think about an initiation ceremony. And then, of course, I got my little praying Buddha over here. All right, is that Buddha? I don't know if that's Buddha or not. Doesn't matter. Anyway, first book we got here. 3 books of occult philosophy by Henry Cornelius Agrippa, largely understood as the foundation book of the Western esoteric tradition. Got a bunch of CDs in the way. I apologize for that. Got kind of a mess going on here, but there's the first book. What do we got here? We got Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. Second book there, Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike. That one's good for Freemasons. If you're into Freemasonry, if you are a Freemason yourself, get you a copy of that. That's going to break down the Scottish Rite rituals for you, and it's going to give you a deeper esoteric understanding of those. Next, we've got The Secret Doctrine, Volume 1 and 2 by Helena Blavatsky. Excellent. That's another foundation book of Western occultism there. It's very good. Here we've got Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. You can see that. I should have moved these CDs out of the way, but I didn't. Actually, we could do an old school rap review, but I won't put you through that right now. We could do that. Hey, I got some down here too. That's just a little bit of it. Yeah, if you want to do an old school rap review, we'll do that one day too. I got a feeling most of you probably aren't down with that, though. Maybe some of you are. Here we've got Rosicrucian and Masonic Origins by Manly P. Hall. That's a good one. We've got A Bridge to Light. This is another Masonic work here. It kind of goes hand in hand with Morals and Dogma there as a study aid. Next, we've got Albert Pike's Esoterica. That's a really good one. Kind of goes along with what I was just talking about. And then we've got The Book of the Words and Their Hidden Masonic Meanings. That's also by Pike. We've got one by Tobias Churton, The Magus of Freemasonry. And that one is about Elias Ashmole and his legacy in Freemasonry. Next, we've got The Sacred History by Mark Booth. Mark Booth also goes by the name Jonathan Black as a pseudonym, and that is an excellent one. If you want to hear the myths and then a breakdown of various aspects of those myths and their esoteric meaning, get that book. Also, while you're at it, pick this one up. This is the illustrated version of The Secret History of the World. This is like a special edition. I had to pick this up. It's illustrated. It's got a lot of pictures in it. Man, that is a beauty right there. That's a very good book. I think there's an audio version, probably an unauthorized audio version on YouTube. It's well worth it. Definitely listen to that one. Then we've got The Universal One by Walter Russell. Walter Russell was one of these scientists, kind of like Tesla, who got marginalized and who just had such great work, got too close to the truth, so obviously his work is not very well known. The Universal One by Walter Russell and The Secret of Light. Man, this dude, if you have not listened to some Walter Russell, go on YouTube, just type up Walter Russell. There's tons of different stuff about his teachings, and pick you up a Walter Russell book too and read it. The Secret of Light. It teaches you the science. He was an esotericist too, but he was like a legit scientist. And he just breaks it down in terms that you got to see and hear for yourself. Next, we've got Isis Unveiled, Volume 1 and 2. That's by Blavatsky as well. Get some of this junk out of the way here. Then we've got 6 books of Proclus, The Theology of Plato, translated from the Greek, I'm sure is what it says. The Meaning of Masonry by W.L. Wilmshurst. Excellent book. If you are getting into Freemasonry, if you are just starting to study Freemasonry, read this. It's not very big, short book. You need to read that. Gets into the foundations of Freemasonry, how it houses alchemy, Rosicrucianism, yada yada, on and on. Next, we've got Revelation of the Holy Grail by Chevalier Emery's, which is actually just Timothy Hogan. He's an author named Tim Hogan. He does some really good stuff. He wrote this next book too. See, that one's all about the Grail myth and legend, and it's all esoteric. It's all the esoteric tradition. Then he wrote this other one called Novo Clavis Esoterica. This is another book for Masons, but if you're into the Western esoteric tradition, you'll enjoy it too. The Elements of the Elements, another by Tim Hogan. And it just gets deeper into the esoteric tradition. Here, I'm going to move these out of the way. I've got a couple. I got Rider-Waite tarot deck there. And I've got a Thoth tarot deck here by Crowley. The next one I want to talk about is Stellar Theology by Robert Hewitt Brown. This is another, it's mainly Masonic. It's Stellar Theology and Masonic Astronomy. Great book. This is a really good book. Right now, we're just kind of going through the Masonic section. I mean, it is of import to anybody who's really into the esoteric tradition, but, you know, some of this stuff is tailored more toward Masons. The Meaning of Masonry, that's just a bigger version of the one I showed you here by Wilmshurst. The Masonic Initiation, this is part 2 of The Meaning of Masonry. The Masonic Initiation, and he just gets deeper into what initiation is and what the goal of initiation is. Here we've got Myth, Magic, and Masonry by Jamie Paul Lamb, and he just kind of gives an overview of some of the more esoteric aspects of Masonry. Stuff that Masons really aren't taught when they come in, which is, you know, a little bit upsetting. Okay, let's move down here to the next shelf. Now, these aren't really in order by any means. I did start to kind of order them at one point, and then just through reading them, they kind of got out of order. But this section mainly here, this is a section mainly on the astrological import of the esoteric system. So down here you will see let's see, Aryan Sun Myths, The Origin of Religions. Little book worth its weight in gold there. The Zodiac Code by F. Chris Patrick. And it just kind of breaks down the biblical significance of what goes on in the sky. Here we've got Astrology of the Old Testament, The Lost Word Regained. This is a Masonic book, but it breaks down astrology in the Bible. And oh man, this is a great book. I remember I read like the first couple chapters of it. I haven't finished it yet, but from what I read, I was just blown away by it. It's a very good one. Sun Lore of All Ages by William Tyler Olcott. Oh, here's a good one. That Old Time Religion by Jordan Maxwell, Paul Tice, and Alan Snow. You know, Jordan Maxwell has been around for a long time. He died recently. Rest in peace, Jordan Maxwell. You know, people have criticized his later work. I understand. But his early work was really good. He's been around for quite a while. Okay, next we've got Manly P. Hall, The Story of Astrology, The Belief in the Stars as a Human Factor in Human Progress. Did I say as a human factor in human progress? I misspoke. As a factor in human progress by Manly P. Hall. That one's good. Here we've got Firmicus Maternus. His work on astrology. See, astrology is not just some woo-woo nonsense. It has very deep importance. The Light of Egypt by William H. Burgoyne. I'm sorry, Thomas Burgoyne. That's a good one. There's a Llewellyn one. It's basically a textbook on astrology. Theosophical astrology. Mythic astrology. Astrology made practical. The Astronomical Foundation of the Christ Myth. Now this series here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4-part series. That's really good. It's kind of like a textbook on the astrological foundation of the Christ myth. So you can get a good breakdown in those. Here we've got, let's see, let's jump up here. And this one, I believe, is Astronomica. Yes, Marcus Manilius. Astronomica. Very old work. Here we've got Jesus Christ, Son of God, Ancient Cosmology and Early Christian Symbolism. That one's awesome, too. That one's just packed with, it's like a textbook for this ancient philosophy. It's really good. That's what the front looks like. That is by David Fiddler, I believe. Let me see if I can remember. Yeah, Fiddler, David Fiddler. Serpent in the Sky. Let's see. Whoops, I shouldn't have done that. I should have been recording this in landscape the whole time. I apologize for that. Serpent in the Sky. This one is by John Anthony West. Serpent in the Sky by John Anthony West. John Anthony West was an awesome Egyptologist. He brought out a lot of this stuff that was hidden. Let's move along here. Next, we've got The Undying Stars by David Matheson. I think that's his name. Geez, why can't I remember these people's names? And there's another one by Matheson there, too. Star Myths of the World, Volume 3. The Undying Stars. That one's by him, too. It's so good. Go read it now. Here we got, let's see, Robert Taylor. Okay, Robert Taylor, The Astronomico-Theological Lectures of Robert Taylor. Robert Taylor was a reverend who figured out the Masonic, part of the Masonic understanding of religion. And He went on a tirade and published a bunch of books saying that he had figured it all out and that it's, nothing but astronomical science and this and that. And he did expose a lot, and he was right about the things that he did expose, but he only exposed one aspect of the esoteric philosophy, the astronomical significance of the myths. That is only one part. See, that's an illustration of how this can be dangerous if you just only learn a little bit of it, because then you can take it and run and be like, hey, hollering from the rooftops, hey guys, I figured it out. This is all it is. And then it debases the religion because you're not actually telling the whole story. What did Manly P. Hall say? And he only repeated this, but what was it? It was, a little philosophy leadeth a man to atheism, but a well-rounded study of philosophy bring him back around to God. Something like that. Don't quote me on that. It's similar, though. Next up, okay, let's see. Did I get through those? The Devil's Pulpit. That's one of Robert Taylor's famous works. He also wrote the Diegesis here as well. It's worth reading. I think as he went along, he discovered a little bit more, but his early works are just about the astronomical significance. They're worth reading for sure. Next, we've got a section of encyclopedias, Kabbalistic Encyclopedia by David Godwin. That's a good one. We've got the Element Encyclopedia of Secret Societies by John Michael Greer. He's a well-known name in the Western esoteric tradition movement. Right here we've got Restorations of Masonic Geometry and how did they say that word? Symbolry, being a dissertation on the lost knowledge of the Lodge. That's a pretty good one. Then we've, of course, got both volumes of the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by Albert Mackey, another famous 33rd degree Mason. A New Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, that one's by A.E. Waite. He was a Mason and a member of the esoteric movement as well. People have a lot of criticisms of him, and I get it, but I mean, I think he made some good contributions. Next, we've got Lexicon of Freemasonry by, again, Albert Mackey, 33rd degree, and The Symbolism of Freemasonry by Albert Mackey once again. That's a really good one as well if you're into the Masonic path there. This is just a book on symbolism, Michelle Snyder. And let's move on. Here, we won't go through the old school rap. Not today. These are, like I said, in no particular order. There we got some Mayo Clinic if you want to bandage yourself up. The Practical Stoic, some Stoic philosophy. A couple Masonic pamphlets stuck in there. Then you've got Written in Stone. Written in Stone by Richard Casaro. That's a pretty good one. He's actually not a Mason, but he's got a Masonic symbol on his book, and he does good work. I don't know why he does that. His work is worth reading. The Cosmological Origin of Myth and Symbol. That's another good one. That's by Laird Scranton. He's kind of along the lines and has worked with Graham Hancock. Here's another book of his, Point of Origin. Real good. Then we've got Cinema Symbolism. And that's written by a 32nd degree Mason named Robert W. Sullivan. He's got volume 1, volume 2. I think he's even got a third volume. So many of the movies we watch are loaded with symbolism of this esoteric philosophy. So, The Royal Arch of Enoch, that is another one that Robert W. Sullivan, 32nd degree, wrote. And those are worth reading. Then we come over here, we've got Joseph Campbell. The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Great book. Joseph Campbell was a pretty famous mythicist. The Jesus Mysteries by Tim Freak and Peter Gandy. That's another one. Now, I'm not saying all these break down the entire philosophy, but they're pieces. They're pieces of the overall puzzle. So then we've got some ancient myths of the world. Just your classic Greek myths. The Gift of Kabbalah. A book on Gnosis. Let's see. What's this one? The Philosophy of Freedom, Rudolf Steiner. That is another good one. Steiner even said he regards that as his most important work. Read that if you get a chance. Then we've got Water into Wine by Tom Harper and The Pagan Christ by Tom Harper. Tom Harper followed a lot of Alvin Boyd Kuhn's work and gives him credit for a lot of it in there. Those are definitely worth reading for helping people break away of their common understanding of Christianity and letting people understand that there's different aspects to Christianity than they've ever even heard. And that these books prove it. Then you've got The Hiram Key. That's gotten critical reviews. I think it's got some good sections in it. Secret Societies. That was a good book, History of Secret Societies. Then we've got the works of Philo. Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. Magicians of the Gods by Graham Hancock. Colin Wilson. From Atlantis to the Sphinx. And that concludes that bookshelf. Oh, no, we've got The Origins and History of Consciousness. Gary Lockman, A Secret History of Consciousness. Those are both really good, too. And we got some Jordan Peterson, Maps of Meaning. Jordan Peterson shares a lot of aspects with Steiner, I would say. Then The Hidden Code in Freemasonry. Master of the Mysteries. That's a biography on Manly P. Hall. Got another collection of The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky, Volume 1 and 2, Cosmogenesis and Anthropogenesis. And we've got Trivium and Quadrivium. There you go. Your 7 liberal arts and sciences. And what do we got here? Hey, get these for your kids, too. Critical thinking cards. Breaking down logical fallacies. Creative thinking cards. You got to get that for the little ones, guys. All right, hang on and we'll move to bookshelf 2. All right, here we are. We're over here on bookshelf 2 now. Zoom in there. We've got The Secret Teachings of All Ages, different version by Manly P. Hall. You see my I Love the Constitution sticker there because I do love me some Constitution, y'all. Not just as a piece of paper, but I mean the ideals enshrined in it. That's why we should never get rid of the Constitution, everyone. Despite its imperfection, despite that, yes, not everything in it has been perfectly implemented. If we get rid of that standard, we're doing the world a very big disservice. I'd like to see those ideals spread worldwide and then actually enacted. You know, right now we've got a big problem in our country where for many, many years, the elites of both sides have been doing a lot of bad stuff in the name of America. And that ain't cool. All right, let's get back onto this. We got Manly P. Hall's unpublished pages of The Secret Teachings of All Ages right here. We'll do a reading of that one sometime because that one's pretty good. I'm sure a lot of people have not heard those unpublished pages of The Secret Teachings. Then we've got some more Manly P. Hall. This is back when he had his magazine, the collected edition of The All-Seeing Eye. The All-Seeing Eye was Manly P. Hall's publication when he was kind of in his earlier years. Got another version there, Volume 4, then the 1931 All-Seeing Eye, 1930 to 1931. We got another Manly P. Hall, The Mystical Christ, The Wisdom of the Knowing Ones, The the Kybalion Study Guide. That's pretty good for all you guys that like the Kybalion. I think it is a classic. Then we've got The Seeker's Guide to the Secret Teachings of All Ages by Mitch Horowitz. That one's pretty good too. Just kind of a little recap study guide to the secret teachings of all ages. And we've got Aeon by Carl Jung. We've got The Red Book by Carl Jung. Carl Jung, I'm sure most of you have heard of him. Awesome psychologist who was like heavily steeped in the mystical tradition himself. And we'll move on here. We've got another edition of the Secret Teachings of All Ages. Can you guys tell that I like Manly P. Hall at all? Another version, little collector's edition. Then we've got Manly P. Hall Dream Symbolism. We've got a pamphlet of Manly P. Hall's here. The Bible, the story of a book. Then we've got The Lost Keys of Freemasonry. Man, read that. If you're at all toward the Masonic bent, which it all just houses the Western Esoteric wisdom tradition, that's a good one. That was one of the first Masonic books I ever read. And then we've got Man, Grand Symbol of the Mysteries. That's a good one by Hall. It's all about occult physiology. Words to the Wise. That's another one by Hall. That's his instructions to anyone who's first getting into the study of esotericism, how to avoid pitfalls, how to stay close to the stream, the true stream that I always speak of. And we've got From a Philosopher's Scrapbook. That's another one by Hall. We've got Great Books on Religion and Esoteric Philosophy. That's Hall's list of books and whatnot that he suggests people read. It's not a list of his books per se. Here's this is another great one on occult physiology by George W. Carey. God-Man, the Word Made Flesh. That's an excellent one on occult physiology if you care to look. We've got The Greek Kabbalah by Kieran Berry, a book on the Kabbalistic system used by the Greeks. There we've got some Rudolf Steiner, Deeper Secrets of Human Evolution. Then we've got Human Evolution, The True Knowledge of the Christ, The Spiritual Hierarchies, Spiritual Beings in the Heavenly Bodies and in the Kingdoms of Nature, How the Spiritual World Projects into the Physical Experience. And we've got An Outline of Esoteric Science, again by Rudolf Steiner. What do we got here hiding out? We've got a little treatise here on H.P. Blavatsky and the Secret Doctrine by Max Heindel, who was another excellent Rosicrucian author that everyone should read, in my opinion. The Johannine Gospel in Gnostic Exegesis by Elaine Pagels. Elaine Pagels, she's a pretty good Gnostic scholar, pretty well known. We've got The Gnostic Paul by Elaine Pagels. We've got Celsus on the True Doctrine. That is where Celsus wrote a little treatise on the true doctrine, and that what the Christians were bringing was just a reiteration of the old mysteries. So why were they saying it was new and all this stuff? He kind of exposes what the Roman Church was trying to do. And here we've got by Kevin Connor, Interpreting the Symbols and Types. That will teach you that there's different symbols and types within your Bible and how to identify them. Sistine Secrets by Bleck and Dolliner. That's a really good one. That one even got praise from the Vatican historian himself. That one's a excellent one. If you like Michelangelo and you want to see some of the esoteric stuff he hid in the paintings in the Vatican, get yourself a copy of that. What do we got here? The Spiritual Interpretation of Scripture by someone named Goldsmith. I read that. It's pretty good. Definitely worth it. And then we've got the Companion Bible, King James Version. This was the Bible suggested by Jordan Maxwell when he was doing some presentations. And so I picked myself up a copy. It's an excellent Bible. I mean, there's so many appendices in there that just break stuff down, break it down beyond what any other Bible will do for you. We got a book by Chris Hodap. It's a Masonic book, Solomon's Builders. It's about Washington, D.C. and the layout and, the truth and fiction and all that. Take anything you read with a grain of salt. Even just because someone's a Masonic author doesn't mean they have a full understanding about the esoteric side of things. So they do get some things wrong on occasion. You just got to use your brain, that's all. Scott, was this Scott Onstadt? I can't remember the guy's first name. Onstadt, he wrote this anthology, Secrets in Plain Sight. And that's a pretty good book. He was an architect, I believe, and he did a lot of identifying different structures and their measurements and how all this mystical stuff is encoded, not only in the buildings, but in the spacing of the buildings across the earth. Somebody really knew what they were doing when they did all this. All right, let's move down the shelf here. We've got The Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross by A.E. Waite. We've got The Book of Alchemy by Melville. We've got Tertium Organum by P.D. Ouspensky. Ouspensky's really good too. He followed Gurdjieff, and Gurdjieff's a well-known name, but he's known to be pretty difficult. And Ouspensky kind of elucidates his teachings in a more understandable format. So this one is called In Search of the Miraculous by Ouspensky. That one's got really good reviews by people I trust. The Dayspring of Youth, I heard that was good. I haven't got to read that one yet. And then we've got some Rosicrucian writings here. We've got In the Land of the Living Dead by Prentice Tucker. He was a Rosicrucian, member of the Rosicrucian Fellowship that Max Heindel started. And we've got Message of the Stars by Max Heindel. Rosicrucian Cosmoconception by Heindel, which is just mind-blowingly awesome if you like this stuff. There is a version of it that you can find on YouTube, I believe. Then we've got The Web of Destiny by Max Heindel. Simplified Scientific Astrology by Heindel. And I think that top one I got at a garage sale. I just saw Kabbalah and grabbed it. But then we've got Paul Foster Case, Occult Fundamentals and Spiritual Unfoldment, Volume 1, The Early Writings. Esoteric Secrets of Meditation and Magic by Paul Foster Case as well. Then Paul Case, The True and Invisible Rosicrucian Order, the original edition, which is a much more whittled down than another edition that I've got that I'll show you in a second here. But then we've got, let's see, The Art of the Occult. This is just all artwork. All just esoteric artwork. Just a book filled with it. It's really, really cool. Alchemy and Mysticism, another book. Gives like a little rundown, but it's mostly just art, but it breaks down what some of the stuff in the artwork is. A Treatise on White Magic by Alice Bailey. I'm not a huge fan of like Bailey and Besant per se. They came after Blavatsky, and I think they are kind of the ones that ruined the Theosophical movement to an extent, or at least some of their ideas. But not to say that some of the stuff that they wrote isn't worth reading. I mean, An Esoteric Structure of the Alphabet by Alvin Boyd Kuhn talks about how our alphabet still encodes the esoteric secrets of the ages. That's a good one. The Lost Light by Alvin Boyd Kuhn. I cannot say enough about that book. It's great. Who is This King of Glory? I haven't read that one yet, but from the excerpts I've read, looks excellent. Anything from Kuhn's excellent. We'll read some of his essays when we do the book readings as well. Shadow of the Third Century by Kuhn. Again, it's by Kuhn, so it's good. And that is Rome's fraud that they put forth with their version of Christianity, the just the historical version that they forced on everyone and used it as a system of control. Franz Barden, he is another really good one. Got this 3-book series, Initiation into Hermetics, The Practice of Magical Evocation, and The True Key to the Kabbalah, or The Key to the True Kabbalah, rather. Giordano Bruno and the Hermetic Tradition by Francis Yates. Gareth Knight, A Practical Guide to Kabbalistic Symbolism. The Corpus Hermeticum. I mean, you can't do without that if you're studying this stuff. And this translation's by G.R.S. Mead. He's a pretty well-known name in the legit stream of like the old Golden Dawn and Theosophy. Then we've got Robert Flood, The Collected Works. Jacob Boehme, The Collected Works. And these guys were also awesome. These guys were good. It's the front of Boehme's. Here's Flood, Western Esoteric Masters series. So go ahead and check you some of that out. The Way to Christ by Boehme. 4 works of Roger Bacon. Roger Bacon was also, he was one of the good ones. Check his work out. Moving down, we've got Dion Fortune. She's another really good one. The Training and Work of an Initiate. The Cosmic Doctrine, also by her. Practical Occultism in Daily Life, also by her. She also wrote this one called The Mystical Kabbalah. If you want information on Kabbalah, definitely read that one. She's great. She's got a really good handle on the esoteric tradition. Then we've got The Key of the Mysteries. That's by Eliphas Levi, or Levi, however you prefer to say it. Eliphas Levi. He is also critical as kind of a foundation stone of the Western esoteric tradition. And I've got a few of his other books, Paradoxes of the Highest Science. And then we've got Tobias Churton, The Gnostics, The Secret Doctrine of the Rosicrucians. Excellent. That's written by Magnus Incognito. It was actually written by William Walker Atkinson, though, I believe, came out. There's another guy calling himself Magus Incognito, too, that sells books nowadays, but it's not the same dude. Then we've got The Golden Dawn. This is the entire ritual system written by Israel Regardie, who was a student and the secretary of Crowley. And we've got Esoteric Freemasonry, Secrets and Practices of the Freemasons. Move over here, we've got The Legend of Aleister Crowley, written by Israel Regardie. And I've got another one written by Regardie on Crowley. I like that he kind of gets in there and debunks some of the stuff that was said about Crowley. Not everything said about Crowley was not true, though. A lot of what was said about Crowley was not true, but a lot of it was true. But Regardie kind of goes through that. I honestly think Crowley was just kind of a messed up dude who legitimately was trying to do good stuff. I think that, I mean, maybe I'll get some backlash on that. I just think he was a dude who was trying to do good stuff, who had some weird ways of doing it. But I don't think he was malicious. And we've got The Works of Aleister Crowley. It's like the collected works. Reading and Understanding the Mysteries of Tarot. Understanding Crowley's Thoth Tarot. And that is by Lon Milo Duquette. He's really good if you get some stuff by him. He also wrote The Chicken Kabbalah, which you can get on Audible. It's just like an easy breakdown of Kabbalah. Then we've got Paul Foster Case, his book on the tarot, which is awesome. Then we've got The Book of Thoth by Crowley himself. That book's great. Read that along with the Thoth Tarot from Lon Milo there. Then we've got 777 and other Kabbalistic writings of Aleister Crowley. Crowley, the Book of the Law. I'm not like a super huge fan of Crowley, but I do recognize that he did contribute a lot that is useful. I think there's better people, and he was kind of a screwed up dude, but you can definitely learn something from Crowley, for sure. He was not like a, you know, I don't know what I'd say. He's not like a, one of the elders in the white robe, like lofty, virtuous person or anything like that. Kind of like how I envision like a Steiner or a Manly P. Hall type of guy, and even they, I mean, obviously they're just humans, but I think Crowley was a bit more screwed up than them guys. But well worth the read, anywho. So then we've got Lawrence William Lyons' The Language Crystal. That's an interesting one. It kind of breaks down some esoteric meanings in language and traces it back to like the roots and whatnot. It's strange. It's a strange book, but it's worth the read. He was a linguist who found esoteric truths, was able to unravel esoteric truths after he got on the path that one of his students put him on, because his student was dyslexic. And as he was trying to figure out, how to properly address his dyslexic student, he figured some stuff out. So it's an interesting read. And we've got a biography of Rudolf Steiner by Gary Lockman. The Lost Key, that's a Masonic work. Very good for breaking down Masonic symbolism. It's by Prentice Tucker. I mentioned him earlier. He was a Rosicrucian in Max Heindel's, Rosicrucian Fellowship. Then we got some pamphlets here, it looks like. Yep. Manly Hall, Initiates of the Flame, Melchizedek and the Mystery of Fire, The Sacred Magic of the Kabbalah, and Kabbalistic Teachings and the Tree of Life. Then we've got an esoteric reading of biblical symbolism by Harriet Tuttle Bartlett, I believe her name is. Then you've got How to Understand Your Bible by Manly P. Hall. That's a great one. The second version of that, Old Testament Wisdom, another great one. The Temple Legend by Rudolf Steiner, another great one. Man and Animal by Herman Poppelbaum. He became a member of Steiner's anthroposophical movement there, and that's a great book on evolution as told by a guy who had some deeper insights. Sounds pretty fascinating, and maybe we'll read that one at some point. We've got Rosicrucian Wisdom. That's the one I'm currently reading to you guys on the channel right now. We've got Egyptian Myths and Mysteries by Steiner. That's another really good one, guys. Look that one up on YouTube. A guy named Phil Harris has a channel on YouTube, and he's got a reading of that on there, and it's excellent. You need to listen to that one. Okay, now we go down here. We got the Essential Goethe, Stowe's Bible Astrology, another great one. Lectures on Ancient Philosophy. That's the Secret Teachings of All Ages, Part 2, if you didn't know. That's the companion to the Secret Teachings of All Ages. Lectures on Ancient Philosophy by Manly P. Hall. It's excellent. Here's one on the Tarot by Hall. Little pamphlet on the Tarot. The Eye in the Triangle. An interpretation of Aleister Crowley by Israel Regardie. It's another good one. Why Do We Say It? That's just a random one, just kind of like origins of different like slang sayings that we say. Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. That's kind of like an esoteric politics one. It's worth it though. He was right about a lot of stuff. Then we got Machiavelli the Prince, Art of War by Sun Tzu, Strategic Relocation, for when the apocalypse comes. We might be there, guys. I think we might be there. Then we got a little fringe section down here, okay? But it's still worth reading. See, you got like The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. He kind of misinterprets some of the esoteric stuff, but it's still worth the read as a thought experiment. You got some David Icke. Everybody knows about David Icke, right? The crazy dude who talks about reptilians, but even though he does that, he was like right about a lot of the stuff that he said. Now, I don't follow Icke's ultimate conclusions, but I do think these books are worth reading as a thought experiment, just to try to, you kind of got to hash through what you believe and what you don't believe. But he's been right about a lot, and I mean, they're just worth reading for the thought experiment alone. They will open your mind. So let me pause this, and we'll move on to the next bookshelf. Hang on just a minute, guys. All right, guys, I got some stuff laid out on the table here. Forgive me for the mess, man. I got stuff everywhere, but here we go. We got From Limestone to Lucifer by Rudolf Steiner, another good one. Underneath that, what do we got there? Christianity as Mystical Fact by Steiner. Read that one. There's a free version on YouTube. Audiobook. Underneath, oh yeah, that's like some esoteric politics, but yeah, I'm going to put that in there anyway because you need to read that. Whitney Webb is a great investigative journalist. One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1 and 2. You should read that. Breaks down the whole Epstein network, who all was involved. Phew. Crazy. There is Paul Foster Case, The True and Invisible Rosicrucian Order. I showed you a smaller version of this book, but this is the expanded one. This is the one you want. It's got so much good stuff in it. Then, this is my subscription to the Fraternal Review. It's a Masonic magazine, but they get into some esoteric stuff. Pretty good for Masonry to have the California Research Lodge do this because they're trying to bring back the esoteric aspects of Freemasonry. The Fraternal Review is what it's called. And I don't think their subscriptions are that crazy. If you're a Mason and you like esoteric aspects of Freemasonry, check out the Fraternal Review. And then we're going to come down here. This is the last little section of books I'll show you for now. I got more, like I said, in my room, but I just, I don't want to deal with them right now. Here we've got Rosicrucian Philosophy in Questions and Answers. That's by Max Heindel. Very good one there. Let's see what we got next. A couple pamphlets. Fairy Tales in Light of Spiritual Interpretation. That's by Rudolf Steiner. And stuff's in all the fairy tales, guys. And we've got How to Know the Higher Worlds by Steiner. And we've got some Gnostic interpretation of the Bible here with the Pistis Sophia. The New Cain. This is a work that was written about Steiner's work. It's like a reference work. The New Cain. Oh, here we go. Freemasonry and Catholicism by Max Heindel. Oh man, we're going to probably read that one even though there is a version out there, because that one's super good. We just finished that one. An Esoteric Cosmology by Steiner. Questions and Answers. This is written by Manly P. Hall. Pretty good one. Some pamphlets by Hall. Let's see what we got. The Holy Spirit. What else we got? The Psychology of Religious Ritual. Super Faculties and Their Culture. It's all about the esoteric tradition and how it can raise the faculties that are latent within you and all of us. Here's another one by Hall about the unseen worlds. And let's see. There's another one, Talks to Students on the Occult by Manly P. Hall. Here's Genesis by Rudolf Steiner. Theosophy by Rudolf Steiner. And Occult Physiology by Rudolf Steiner. And let's move on down here. And we've got, let's see, Eliphas Levi and the French Occult Revival. That's a book about Levi. The Mysteries of John the Baptist by Churton, the Max Heindel Collection, Volume 1 and 2. It's loaded with Heindel books. Then we've got one by Franz Hartmann here. Let me get this out of the way. These are dummy rounds, guys. Just dummy rounds. Wink, wink. Let's see. The Life of Yehoshua, the Prophet of Nazareth. That one's by Franz Hartmann. We've got another one here. We've got one by Hall, the Codex Rosicrucius. And then we've got, let's see if we can get it to focus here. The Secret Symbolism of the Rosicrucians. I think that one is also by Franz Hartmann. We've got the Alvin Boyd Kuhn collection. Now we've got, I didn't know this one was thrown in here, but check it out. You should read it anyway. The Great Reset by the infamous Alex Jones. Now, I know what everybody's thinking, but how many of you have actually seen his early work, and how many of you have followed what he's actually said? Yes, he made some mistakes. All that. Yep, definitely did. Said some things that weren't true. But go back to his body of work. This one's actually a bestseller on Amazon, and they won't allow it to reach the heights. This is about the Great Reset. It's going on right now. He's warned about it for a long time, guys, and it's happening. You know, even Steiner warned that this was coming. He said at some point they will force everyone to take injections, and that will be the beginning of their trying to rid spirituality from the world. So take it with a grain of salt. But then we got Operation Shadowgate. See, I got a couple of the esoteric politics ones mixed in here, guys. I know this isn't what it's supposed to be about, but that one's by a guy named Patrick Berge, and he kind of exposes a lot of what's going on here, too, with the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset and all that good stuff. We got another one called Magic, White and Black, and that one is by, I believe, Franz Hartmann as well. This is another one by Hartmann, With the Adepts. And another one by Hall, Visions and Metaphysical Experiences. The Adepts in the Western Esoteric Tradition by Manly P. Hall. So, those are good ones. The Magic Fire. That one's by, I think that one's like a reference work on some of Hall's work. This one here, Magic, a treatise on natural occultism. There's a version of that on YouTube. Everybody should listen to that. But we might do a reading of it ourselves because I'd like to add some commentary. I think it's important. And then Manly P. Hall's first work, Symbolic Essays, first published works of Manly P. Hall. The Occult Anatomy of Man. Jameson, you'll like that one. I believe it was you that brought that one up. It's an excellent book. Let's see here. The Apocalypse, attributed to St. John. That's another one by Manly P. Hall. And then we've got The Apocalypse Unsealed by James Price. He was a theosophist, and that one's awesome. It breaks down all kinds of stuff that is in the book of Revelation that you were never told about. And it's amazing. Let's see what we got here. There's one of Manly Hall's students wrote that little biography of Hall, and kind of telling about her time that she spent at the Philosophical Research Society. Here we've got Paul Foster Case, Esoteric Keys of Alchemy. That's a really good one, guys. If you can go out and get that one, you will enjoy it. Then we've got The Lost Word, Its Hidden Meaning, a correlation of the allegory and symbolism of the Bible with that of Freemasonry, and an exposition of the secret doctrine. It should say doctrine there. They ran out of room. But anyway, that one's excellent. Lots of symbolic meanings in there. And then, finally, The Restored New Testament. That is a theosophical Bible. It is a Bible written by James Price that wrote The Apocalypse Unsealed. He did a whole work on all the books of the Bible, or at least the books of the New Testament. So, that's pretty cool. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I hit the button, but that's going to conclude the book tour for now. Like I said, I got more. We'll go through more. We're going to do some more readings anyway, but that is probably like 80% of the books. I got a whole nother section on esoteric politics and different accounts of what really happened, given by whistleblowers, this, that. I could do a video on that whole section some other time, because I do have a whole nother bookshelf full of like esoteric political books. I didn't want to really get too much into those right now, because that's not really what this is about. But it all ties together, guys. It really does. It's all practical. There's a thing going on in this world, and it's a war. It is a spiritual war, to be quite honest. Everybody says they believe in their holy scripture, their Bible, whichever book you prefer, yet they don't apply it to practical life and act like it's really going on. It really is going on. There's dark forces at work against you and your future. So whether or not you want to believe that or just take it as meaningless platitudes, it is real, it is happening, and you're in it right now. So, I said this stuff's embedded everywhere. You should read Cinema Symbolism, one of the books I showed you by Robert Sullivan, and read about Star Wars. Read about these classics, because they're telling you something. Those movies were made for a reason. They're breaking down the esoteric philosophy in the movie, yet everybody thinks it's just entertainment. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here for now. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. And I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you listening to the readings. And, we're gonna keep this going. So much love to you guys. Thank you. This was for the 100 subscribers. I never even thought I'd have 100 subscribers, honestly. So I do appreciate you sharing all that stuff. If you're liking what I'm reading to you, go ahead and keep hitting that share button, because we're going to get into a lot more. I got a lot of work to do. I'm on this earth to do work, to do like meaningful work. That probably sounds like pretty cringy and weird, but it's a fact, Jack. And so are you. You're here to do something too. A lot of people just haven't realized why we're even here yet, and that we are in this battle. We haven't been told the rules of the game. So anyway, I ain't gonna drag it on longer, guys. Take care. Thanks again, and we will talk to you in the next reading. Peace out, y'all. Take care.